Merry Easter, one and all. This is the UploadVR Gamescast. Welcome to you. I am your host, Jamie Feldham, and joining me to talk about the week's latest headlines, impressions of things we've played, all good things in VR, is the one, the only Harry Baker. How are you doing?
Good, Jamie. Good, Jamie. Would you like to hear a quick joke before we start?
Oh, always.
Always. Okay, well, a man gets shot in a bar, and the police turn up at the bar, and outside they see a panda eating bamboo. And they walk inside and they say to the bar owner, "Who do you think did it?" He goes, "I'm certain it was the panda." And they go, "Why do you think it was the panda?" He goes, "Because every time he comes here, he just eats, shoots, and leaves."
I was like,
There we go.
Shoots is getting in there somewhere.
It's getting there somewhere. It's actually, for those who are following along at home, that is actually the title of a book about grammar. So it's not original.
Yeah,
Eat, shoots, and leaves. It's I believe it's someone who used to work for the BBC, wrote a book about grammar. So there you go.
I feel like
grammar
based
joke.
on my typos recently, I should probably read that book. Maybe that's really helpful.
Yeah, you'll know all about how to properly punctuate panda-related sentences.
As I've already said, this is our weekly show on all things VR gaming. We are supported by our fantastic members. They are Lucas Longacre, Anthony Mann Wexford, Robert Canonas ×2 because he does it twice. What a king. Handy Panama, Daniel Bowen, Jerome Houston, Andrew King, Skiva 007, Sexy Bicycle, Matthew May, Rick Tet, 360 Pickable, Smashed Reality, Adam Hartzell, the absolute boy, and John Westra. Thank you so much for your continued support. It means the world to us. Now we usually get into headlines.
Yes,
I feel like we're just going to get into headlines. It's not a big week,
not huge,
but we've got some interesting things to talk about.
Starting
off, we know that the Oculus, the Meta Gaming Showcase is coming up next week on April 20th. We've already confirmed a few games are going to be there, like Among Us, and we know that Tripwire is going to be there with something. And we've had another game sort of accidentally confirmed, and that is The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2, Retribution. It was Retribution.
What title?
Wasn't it?
I think so, yes.
Too much.
It's a big name. Big name. This is kind of an accident, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. So this was an accident, like you said. It was like the premiere for a trailer was put up publicly on YouTube, and people spotted it. Then it got taken down. But then it got put on Reddit. So then they had to come out and say, nice,
and they were like,
nice
good going, guys. Watch out next week. And it's like, well, it wasn't much detective work. It was you guys accidentally put a trailer on the air up. But, well, thanks, guys. So, it's a trailer coming for that.
I feel like
exciting.
Yeah, I feel like this was a given, right? I was pretty confident we were going to see this next week.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that was revealed in this kind of thing, because someone screenshot on Reddit the premiere with the description, it does also say late 2022. So we now know that it's coming late 2022, as opposed to, it could have been it's here next week again. So it's not going to be like it's coming out soon trailer. It'll be it's coming out later in the year trailer.
Does it mention any other platforms? Because
no, it only says Meta platforms or Meta headsets, I think it says, but obviously it's a trailer for the showcase, so that tends to be how they phrase it anyway.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that it's not,
that'd be another
coming to other things as well. I'd be surprised, obviously, if it didn't. So it just says Meta headsets, but that's not a surprise because that's what they usually say for a Meta showcase. So
So this is the exact kind of thing we want to see out of the gaming showcase, right? At the end of the day, like it would have been cool, seeing as it got announced earlier this year. It would have been a really nice surprise to have saved the actual announcement for the showcase. But I think if we get a good look at gameplay and probably some new features, I'm not expecting it to look massively different because, as we've already said with this game, it doesn't sound like it's technically a sequel, more of a standalone expansion, right?
Yeah.
So
like an expansion you could play regardless if you played the original, and you don't need to own the original. That's the other.
And the last free update for the original Saints and Sinners also heavily teased what this expansion was gonna be about, and we've got some coverage on that if you if you want to look on the site, but I don't want to spoil it here. But yeah, we're not expecting this to be a massively different game. We're just expecting it to be basically more of what is definitely in my top 3 VR games, if not my all-time favorite VR game. So that's good enough for me, I think.
I had it installed to play because we mentioned this, and I was like, I'm going to play it. But then I had to uninstall it because I had to install other stuff. It takes up so much. I've only got a 64 gigabyte Quest.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Yeah.
And so it takes up most of that. So it's like I cleared stuff off to put it on, and I was like, great. Then something came up and I couldn't get to it. And then I was like, oh, I have to install something. Well, the only logical thing to uninstall is The Walking Dead. So it's kind of like a bit of actually a pain because I've got to really commit to like playing it. I can't just have it there.
You should get it on PC, right? Get it on the
I could do that.
Rift store.
Yeah, could do that. But
then you can play it through Link.
I'm so anti-cord. Unless they bring that sweet wireless dongle.
Yeah,
I'd be
so
on
good,
that.
Right? Or
I would be so excited for that.
As we might talk about in a bit, the Pico Neo DisplayPort connection.
Yeah,
for compressless image, uncompressed image, compressless. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So yeah,
compressless.
This I feel like
compression removed. Go on. Sorry.
This I feel like was kind of a given. I think I'm getting really excited for the showcase next week as well because with Among Us and whatever Tripwire has to reveal, and I'm pretty sure some other developers have said they're going to be there, but I don't want to overstep anything, so I'm not going to say. I think I'm hoping it'll be a good show, and
that's already a pretty good lineup.
Yeah,
I think.
And I had an editorial last week that was saying this is going to be a very important showcase for Meta because with PSVR 2 coming out, and as we're now starting to see some other standalone headsets coming, and they're going, the prospect of more PC VR players coming in as well, it's really time for them to start showing like actual great gaming content for Quest to keep that audience satiated and happy. It's had this kind of 2-year grace period. Yeah. It's had this kind of 2-year grace period, right?
It's like, now they've got to be like, this is the stuff you're here for, especially with the Pico stuff, which we'll talk about later. But it's like, now it's like, well, you've got to have a reason to be around. Stuff like, I mean, this is probably not exclusive, but as we've said before, I think last week, the GTAs, the big, same thing with PSVR 2. They're going to have lots of well-known and popular franchises that are competing for this. Like even just the Horizon is the only one we know about, but we've speculated GT and other stuff. So it's nice to actually also feel like there is competition and that there's some stakes riding on this showcase. Because I feel like a lot of the other showcases, although we've obviously want a good, selection of stuff, it often feels a bit like, well, there's nothing else really to compete with this anyway. So if they deliver or don't deliver, it's not, no pressure on them almost to to keep up.
We all reported on VR last year. We know that it was like a slow year mostly. We had Demio, which ended up getting our Game of the Year, and we loved, but it wasn't like the boneworks of like traffic driving, absolute craze hype, excitement. And it wasn't until the end of the year that we got like Resident Evil 4 and Medal of Honor and some kind of things that were in that kind of league. And this needs to be filled with, game reveals that aren't like, oh, cool. It's cool that that's coming. It needs to be filled with stuff that's like, yes, I need to go out and either buy a Quest or I need to go out and like dig my Quest out of the cupboard. Because, like there's a lot of talk in the industry right now about like, there hasn't been a lot of exciting stuff on Quest and can mobile chips really pull off good gaming experiences. And it's like we've kind of all forgotten that The Walking Dead is on this thing, and I'm sure it took a lot of work to get it on there and a lot of money, but if it's capable of it, then absolutely it's capable of bringing other kinds of quality experiences as well.
I think too, I have a lot of faith in that. A lot of the stuff we've been trying recently, and although it was buggy as kind of all hell, virtual reality 2 sticks out to me as like one that was really expansive in things I was looking at were huge, huge, big environments that I kind of hadn't considered, even though it is not cheating, but there's a lot of work being done by the art style there. It makes me think of the stuff like, that we know is coming, Assassin's Creed, GTA, some of the stuff that I think, I just don't know. It makes me wonder how long is GTA off from arriving? Will Quest 2 even still be around? If we're in another year's time, you know, Cambria's come out and then they update the quest line with something else in a year after that. That's now not that far off, right? That's like a year and a half.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
So it's kind of like, will GTA even make it to Quest like 2, or will it make it to Quest 2, but you don't want to play it there because it's better off being played? And that to me would be a disappointment, because it was announced as I guess it was announced as a Quest title, but like the assumption is this is a Quest 2 showcase, you know, or Connect or whatever, and they're announcing it for the owners who have that to get excited about.
Yeah.
But I mean, hypothetically, I feel like we're only who knows, a year and a half, maybe minimum, maybe more, of a Quest 2 refresh to something else, whether it be I don't know, updated Quest 2 or a Quest 3 or whatever. But I don't know, it makes me wonder like how far, same with Assassin's Creed, like how far is this stuff off, because we need it eventually, right? Like soon, I would say sooner rather than later.
I do think San Andreas VR is probably closer to coming out than
surely it's the holiday
Creed
release.
Sorry, yeah, well, that's what you'd think when they announced it last year. And you know, Meta doesn't make a massive habit of announcing games too far out from when they're actually coming. Like Resident Evil was announced around this time last year.
That was essentially the holiday release, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they need the big holiday release for sure. So it could be
surely think that's it. Unless they have something else, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, this is a great late 2022 pick, but there's a good chance this is, like we said, also on PSVR and PCVR, and potentially even, you know, maybe if it happens, a PSVR 2 launch title. So there's a lot of different things to compete with on that. It's interesting because in that editorial I listed off Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell, Grand Theft Auto, but then also those aren't even the 5 Oculus Studios people and their games, right? It's not. They're not
totally separate things, aren't they?
Yeah. It's not Downpour. It's not Beat Games. It's not what they call Sanzaro Studios. Not Ready at Dawn, and it's not Big Box VR. And they've also. I
also wonder if Sanzaro are just doing Asgard's Wrath on quests.
Yeah,
I mean, that looks like it would be a hard one, but also they've got Medal of Honor and stuff. But I don't know. I also feel like we need to get to the point where we're not just getting the PC VR games from what is now a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I do want
it's time to do new
bigger exclusive stuff that's like, oh, this is brand new. It's not. Yeah. I feel like people actually don't like Medal of Honor. To me, just felt like it came and went on Quest, even regardless of what the game was like and how it played or whatever. I just felt like there was nothing talked about. No one seemed to. I feel like it is just like, well, it's another old game that's come to. This is not something new, right? I think that's the.
I think like the port of the game was competent. I think you know, everyone was still excited about it happening because it's a big name and it's a campaign-driven shooter, but at the same time, it didn't change the fact it wasn't an amazing VR game. It was a very troubled campaign at the end of the day, and we all got excited about it, and I was getting excited about it, but knowing that it was still going to be that same flawed experience, and that wasn't going to, you know, turn any heads really. It'd be nice to have for existing owners, but
And I also think too, when we were talking about that discussion of like, there's this industry discussion going on of what, like, there's not been so much great exclusive stuff on Quest or like big things, and I feel like that is like just it's a bit like what I said before. More ports from a few years ago on PCVR are not, even if it's a massive title. Like even if Alex came to the Quest tomorrow, which was probably never going to happen, but let's say it did, or came next week. They were like, one more thing, Alex is on Quest. I think it'd be like a big deal, but like I still think it's like, well, the attitude you look at it from someone on the outside of the industry too looking in is, oh, this thing is getting the games from 2-3 years past. So it isn't, whereas I think it is, there's stuff has proven it's a device capable of holding its own, right? Like you can make stuff for it that works just great on it and is built for it. So
and whenever we talk about this with like Heaney or whatever, he's like, you need to remember that, you know, like most people getting into VR are getting into it for the first time. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but those aren't the people watching a MetaQuest showcase or something like that. And I agree with you. Like it is about new content and new exciting content. You have to, I understand that VR is moving going to be moving away from that traditional business model of selling apps and stuff as it gets closer and closer to more of an online persistent thing.
Yeah.
But right now it is a console business essentially, and you have to play that game right now if you want to get that early install base. And how do you do that? You do that with exciting apps and
stuff
sequels
that's nowhere
and
else,
franchises.
exclusives. Yeah.
So,
I think the other thing too that's interesting about this console game discussion is that like it feels like no VR dev studio or publisher has got the console. The one thing they can't get right about the console stuff is the like announcement to release with marketing in between pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like we're talking about this. This got announced. You're saying it would have been good if they saved it for this.
Yeah.
They announced it they're kind of weirdly. Now there's going to be a trailer, but it's actually late 2022. Yeah. And I kind of get why, because I guess there's less stability in how long something for VR, takes in terms of development, because things change. It's a wildly, crazy industry where things happen all the time. But I feel like that's one thing I think too that Meta could probably improve on a lot. The PlayStation will immediately have a step up in by such a long shot of like they know how to do the event, announce the thing. Even I feel like the PSVR 2 stuff we've got has actually been quite good in terms of enough teasing, balancing teasing, and then like little details as we go. You can kind of expect there'll be it feels like they're spacing it out somewhat properly between whenever it is they intend to launch it. I get the feeling there's a plan in place, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of this stuff just feels like sometimes like things get announced way too early. Something like, they mentioned GTA and then we're just like, oh, what's happening? It's been 2 years. And you don't want to do the 1 week thing where you go, new game, GTA on Quest next week, but you also want to, it just feels like the balance isn't there. And I think that draws a lot of the hype away from even some of those like PC VR ports as well.
Which goes back to the real importance of this showcase is you need a roadmap for this year.
Yeah.
Like right now we are just sitting there like, I don't know what's coming out, and maybe something else is really maybe something really cool is coming out in May. You have the tendency to just drop stuff. It's actually been not a bad start to the year for the Quest in terms of like Zenith and Ultra Wings 2 and everything like that. But all of that just dropped out of nowhere.
Just kind of happened.
Yeah. Whereas if you think about PlayStation 5 right now, it's like, you're looking forward to the end of the year because God of War 2 is going to be there, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this doesn't have that yet. So that's the really important thing about it. I think we'll have a special Gamescast basically dedicated to the showcase next week.
I think probably soon after the showcase is, I think.
Yeah. That's the Meta Quest showcase coming Wednesday, 20th.
April 20.
And like I said, we are going to have our special podcast for that. So that'll be exciting. Please look forward to it. Getting away from Quest for a bit, Fracked, the PSVR exclusive shooter, is no longer PSVR exclusive. The End Dreams game is coming to PC VR on May 5th, which I think is very, very cool news. This is still going to be just the same game as it was originally, but it's releasing on Steam, VR, and Viveport on May 5th with an Oculus Store release coming further down the line. And I mean, that's pretty much all there is to say about it, just other than it's really good to see Fracked coming to more platforms, because it was a very good blockbuster shooter for PSVR that released right around the time that everyone was starting to like put PSVR under the stairs or whatever and be like, okay, I'm waiting for PSVR 2 now.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever played it, right?
No, was this last year? That's what I was just trying to remember.
It was summer last year, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. No, I did not play it. No. Is this Move controllers?
Yeah. So
I was going to say because it looks like
have those?
No, I do actually. I do have a pair of them.
You don't even know if you have them.
I do. It's like my PSVR is not set up, right? No, I do have them. I've used them for something too. I can't even remember what, but I know I have. But the other thing I was going to say is this looks like, as someone who hasn't played this, and honestly remembered it came out, but then when it kind of was announced this, I was like, oh yeah, that game.
Yeah.
Because it was on PSVR or whatever. Why is he like, this seems like he's either skiing or shooting things. What?
Yeah,
what's up with that? Why is he skiing? What's the skiing part?
It's basically like Die Hard on a mountain. That he's like up on a mountain. He gets involved in a like massive corporate conspiracy that's turning things into mutants, and that means going downhill quite fast a lot and shooting people a lot.
So there's multiple skiing segments. It's like
multiple skiing segments.
That's pretty cool.
It's a shooter first and foremost, but a skier,
skiing simulator second. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
It's going to be interesting to see because the great thing about Fracked was it was really built around the Move controllers to actually make it feel seamless and natural. And it's one of the few games that actually does that very well, I think. So now you're going to have the added benefit of actually playing with like touch controllers or the knuckles or whatever. So you don't have to worry about that kind of seamlessness anyway. And I'll be very interested to see how that holds up. I don't think visually there's going to be much of a comparison to make there because, as you know, this fantastic art style shows, it's kind of one of those games that would look great on pretty much any platform, I think. Yeah. I think the one thing I would have loved, as happy as I am to see it coming to other platforms, I think what I would have loved to have seen would have been free content updates in the form of what we've again seen for like Saints and Sinners, because my big criticism of Fracked was that it was just far too short. You could do it in under 3 hours. And I'm not someone that necessarily advocates for really long, 10+ hour VR experiences, but at the same time, when a game is so short that it doesn't feel properly fleshed out, and to have explored all of its ideas to, the fullest potential. And this was definitely that case. I felt like I was just getting through a tutorial section, basically, when the game ended.
Sounds like one of those games where you finish it and you're like, oh, I was just kind of getting on board with that, and I would love to do more, another couple of hours, because I just kind of got the hang of it.
Exactly. And it was like, I kind of knew it was coming, because every time you'd ask Endreams, like before the game launch, how long is it? They'd be like, oh, it varies depending on the player time. And it's like, it's long.
Yeah, basically. It's fun.
That's code for, we don't want to talk about that right now. But I mean, at the same time, again, it released at that time when PSVR was just about starting to be a little bit forgotten about, but also it's, billing itself as a AAA game just about at that time that we were definitely a step up from what we would consider AAA in 2016, but still not at the point where like we could expect everything to be Alex. And I think we're kind of just getting there a bit more. I certainly think PSVR 2 is going to bring that advent further along, but I'm still excited. I think this will have a good life on PC and hopefully on Quest at some point.
Do you think, this is my bet, there's going to be another version of this like trailer for the Quest version that will be in the showcase that everyone already knows about? There's always one game. There's always one game that like is in these showcases that is there, that has already been announced, and you just watch a trailer again and everyone's like, we've seen this. We knew this.
Yeah.
There's another 30-second
when we
trailer.
Had Moss 2 at the end of the last one for us. I feel like it could be that.
I reckon it will be. They'll just chuck it in there because why not? It's coming out like 2 weeks afterwards.
What would be your wildest prediction for a one more thing in the showcase? That
GTA
something hasn't been
now. No,
they won't do. No,
I mean, they wouldn't. But
doubt.
that's my wish, not my prediction. That's what else is there? I don't know, because like we don't think that Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell are finished, right? Like they're definitely still in development.
Yeah, it's way too early to see those still, I think.
Because when they announced that, right, the announcement of that it was happening, not that it had already been happening.
Yeah, they were still hiring massively for both projects.
So there's no way. Okay. Well, I don't know. Oh, yeah, because it's not going to be... GTA will be holiday, I feel like, so...
A really cool surprise would be like if they got Respawn back after Medal of Honor and they were like, look, we learned everything we learned from Above and Beyond, and here's Medal of Honor VR 2, and this time it's good, or something like that. I would be really excited about that.
Medal of Honor, and this time it's good.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's the subtitle. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be good. It has to be... Again, talking about like that kind of AAA level, it has to be like that or
show-stopping.
The thing I've always said, and I'm amazed no one has done this yet, is why has no one literally remastered Time Crisis in VR? Like, 5 Time Crisis games in one package. It'd be huge.
Oh, because those games are so much fun. I mean, I've only ever played them in arcades. They were on like PlayStation as well at some point, weren't they?
I think pretty much up until PlayStation 3 they were. Like Time Crisis 5.
Was it an arcade game first, or am I wildly wrong? I think it was, right?
Yeah, it was
Because I've
first,
played
and then
various
the
versions
Pico
in
one.
arcades. So much fun. That'd be great.
Oh yeah,
do that. Like
could
that's also, it just feels like it's designed as a VR game for a flat screen.
I mean, Crisis
like,
VR Arcade essentially is Time Crisis.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That would be my
the branding on Time Crisis. Everyone knows Time Crisis.
Yeah,
that'd be so much
basically.
fun. That'd be a good
my
one.
pick.
Yeah, that's a good
I'll
shock
let you
surprise thing.
I'll let you speculate and think about your answer as we move on to our next subject, which returns us to the world of Quest and something that probably won't be in the showcase because it's being announced now. Into the Radius is coming to Quest 2, which is a big surprise for me, a very pleasant surprise. If you don't know, Into the Radius is a game that's already available on Steam VR, had its kind of stint in early access, then released properly, I think last year or the year before, and has been continued to be updated since then. It's a very Stalker-like game, Stalker being a very popular kind of rundown, grimy shooter series. First game's
survival-y kind of, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
And the first game was called Shadow of Chernobyl, and it was very much, set in that area, dealing with like radiated zones, mutants and things like that, dealing with low ammo supplies, keeping your weapons up to date, and this tries to translate all of that into VR. I know when we reviewed it in 2020, our reviewer then, I forget his name, was kind of all right with it. Like, he said it was good, but it needed a lot of polish, and I think they've gone back and given it a lot of polish. But still, this is an expansive open world game from what I know, so I'm very surprised to see that a Quest 2 version is coming, but I'm very excited. Again, it might be that middle of
if you try it, or like if the person whose name we can't remember who reviewed it for us, if given they played it on PC VR and it's been a few years, as you said, they've updated it. It'd be interesting to see if we try it fresh, what it is like. If it fills in gaps that we didn't even realize were gaps, and so you go back and go, oh, I didn't have this stuff back then.
Yeah,
or vice versa.
Well, and I think there were some actual significant new features added to the game as well as part of its post-launch updates.
I mean, what's interesting too is they said too that from here on, once it comes out on Quest, it'll be the PC and Quest version will have the same stuff and get stuff going forward at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting because it's being made by the port is being made by a different studio.
Yeah, in close collaboration with the original guys.
Close collaboration.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think that was very well worded, the press release they sent to us, because they said these are two separate versions of the game. They will, like, content-wise, they will be identical, but they are two separate versions being developed separately. They will be getting the same updates going forward. And then the thing they specifically said was, but no, the graphics on the PC version won't suffer. So they were very much calling back to the Onward thing from 2 years ago, right? Of just being like, don't worry about that. But, if this pulls off a deep, again, that deep gaming experience that people are assuming isn't really possible on Quest right now based on what we've seen for the last couple of years, then I think this could be a pretty big deal, especially arriving in that September timeframe, which you would assume falls just before the late 2022
the big
slot.
Things.
Yeah. Because in the trailer we see, things like an inventory system with a weight limit, cleaning up guns, two-handed weapon control, lots of horrible-looking monsters, and I think graphically, I think it looks okay. It looks like a PS2 game, which is short, but that's what you're going to expect from
weirdly,
Quest, right?
as similar to what you said, weirdly gives me Resident Evil 4 VR vibes. Looks like, same level of, I think, detail and stuff in the textures. Yeah. And those like kind of like middling foliage trees.
Yeah.
Like,
this will be one where I'll be really looking forward to doing the comparison, because it will be massively stark in contrast. But I think if you can still deliver the same kind of gameplay experience, then I think that's fine, personally. But yeah, exciting. So that's Into the Radius. That's coming to Quest 2 in September. Next up, we don't have a video for this one, do we? Because there's not really much. They didn't really do a great announcement yesterday. It's just images. You might have heard by now that the Quest 2 kind of has a competitor coming to Europe. The Pico Neo 3 Link was announced yesterday. It's a consumer version of the Pico Neo 3, which is sold here as an enterprise headset, mainly sold in the UK and in Australia, I think. And in Asia, it's been a consumer headset for the past couple of years. It's basically identical to the Quest 2. It runs on XR2, 4 camera tracking, 2 motion controllers. It's white.
I think it's white. It's strapped on your head.
Yeah, I mean, let's get a little image on the
visual
screen.
What have you got it?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Jamie. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so that wasn't the best image to use because that's from behind. But if you knew what it looked like from the front, it looks like a Quest 2, but then you've got kind of an Elite strap kind of already on it as well, which is quite interesting.
Let me see if I can find one.
While you're looking for that, obviously this is the Gamescast. I'm sure no, you're Harry. Heaney, and I'm so bad with this. Heaney and Ian are going to be talking about it plenty from a tech angle on the Monday download show. But we're here to talk about the games, and the lineup for this thing is pretty interesting. So far confirmed for the headset. Yeah, we've got this great image.
Here you go.
We have After the Fall, Super Hot VR, Walkabout Mini Golf, 11 Table Tennis, Puzzling Places, O-Shape, and Larcenauts. Also, I didn't mention them, but in the image we have this strange little Wii Sports looking game.
Who are they?
And Manny VR.
Manny VR. Manny is a boxer, game. Right? Yeah, boxing.
I guess so.
I believe the name is Boxing Manny VR, as opposed to regular Manny. We don't get regular
Boxing
Manny VR.
Manny? No, it'd be so funny if he was a good boxer.
I don't think it is. I think they're saying you're playing as Manny, but only when he's boxing, as opposed to Manny's Simulator, where you play him on the lounge at home.
Yeah, not living his luxurious life.
Yeah,
elsewhere.
Drinking beer and eating pizza and getting ready for the fight.
Manny VR, I've got to check that out. And then also, it's been available in Asia for a couple of years now, and in Asia it has Contractors, Crisis VR, Agade, Hyperdash. Those aren't like massively confirmed, but I would assume the storefronts going to have parity right at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good lineup. Running on the XR2, these games. Well, you would hope these games are pretty much identical to the Quest version. The interesting thing about this is they're doing a very, very soft launch for the Link. So it's launching first in like Germany, France, Netherlands, and Spain, I think it is. In like May, and then it comes to the UK and Italy in June, and then other European territories over the next couple of months. But it's going to be available in very limited quantities, and they've said that if another Pico headset comes out in the next 12 months, in other words, another Pico headset is coming out in the next 12 months. You get a 35% discount on buying that. So this is very much a soft launch beta test program sort of thing.
Almost a trade-in program, but it's not a trade-in program.
Basically, So right now, even though like this lineup is comprised of everything that's basically already on Quest 2 without the exclusives, and you might think, well, why would I do that? I see this as a very interesting window of opportunity to get consumers in, testing the kit. And right now, if I was Pico, I'd be going to developers to get some exclusive content, to get Time Crisis. Yeah. Steal my idea, do it. Yeah. That's what I think should happen, right?
Totally. I think this is interesting because the other thing, which again is more of a tech thing, so I'm sure they'll discuss it more, but it has a DisplayPort connector, which means unlike Oculus Link, if it's still called that, which is a USB cord and therefore has compression. And slight latency. So there is slight latency and compression whenever you're using a wired link connection. This is completely uncompressed because it's a display connector, like you would connect a monitor or a headset or whatever. So it's uncompressed, which I think is interesting because it essentially makes it both a PC VR, a full no latency, no compression. Even though I would kind of argue Quest 2 is that too, but it has complications involved. It's essentially a PC VR headset with also these games standalone, which I think is kind of almost the way that it should be marketed. Yeah. Not as if you want to get a Quest 2 for both things, or you were thinking about it, but you don't want Facebook, this does the PC VR presumably really well. And also there's some games, and maybe more might come in the next 12 months, that you can play without hooking it up. And, there's no reason you would hook up your Quest to play Puzzling Places over just playing it on the Quest version, or Super Hot, or, or not the Quest version, but you know what I mean, the standalone version, which is essentially the Quest version. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it should be marketed as like, this is a great PC VR headset, presumably. And also, here are some things you can play without the cord, if you so wish, because it's not like it's the hugest library.
I think that's a great shout, because it's a 256 gigabyte model that also costs as much as the 256 gigabyte Quest 2.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's £400.
And this comes with the cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Which the Quest 2 does not.
So if you can, in the realm of PC VR headsets, if it does offer like that really good uncompressed, high fidelity experience, that's a very cheap PC VR headset. So I think you're right. I think that's the great way to market this one for now, as we build up to whatever a Pico Neo 4 might look like. But I've got the Neo 3 Pro, the Enterprise model, which is essentially going to be the exact same thing. So I'm going to dive into some of these things very, very soon. I think After the Fall is pretty much available on it from today, actually. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it launched. And just see how they shape up, because might actually finally have a little competition. I think it's going to take a while before this is the size, any kind of size, that Facebook needs to be worried, or Meta needs to be worried. But it's good. It's a little start. It's something.
Yep.
It's a little,
totally.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look, I love a lot of the games on this TV, but they're not doing it for me in terms of convincing me to buy a headset, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have one. So I think the way to market it is, hey, you want to play great PC, you want to play Alex, and you've got a PC, and you don't want Facebook or Meta, grab this one instead, and you can chuck some other stuff in.
Yeah. And TikTok, Pico is owned by TikTok owner ByteDance. Yeah. So it's another subsidiary of the same company.
Give me those TikToks in VR. let me scroll through my For You page while I'm playing Puzzling Places and just ruin the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Just, completely audio-visual stimulate myself.
I more just mean that, but financially they can do it, right? They can.
Yes.
They can. They can get the content they need. Yes.
Yeah.
They can get the content they need. They can contend on a software front for sure if they start building teams right to actually do all of that stuff. Very interesting. They could potentially start to become like the number 2 or 3 name in VR. If
they could. Call me crazy, but I've only just realized that the V and the N in 11, the colors are colored that way to make it say
Oh my God, that's dreadful.
I did not realize that until now. Did you know that, or have you just discovered that?
No, I did not know that. If you're listening on
once
the
you see it,
podcast,
it doesn't. Yeah.
We're looking at the 11 Table Tennis logo, and Harry's just realized that the V is red, and then a part of the N is red to make an R.
Is red to make.
So it spells out VR.
But once you see that, you realize that the VR looks really like odd. Like it doesn't fit the rest of the text, and you're like,
I mean, I've never seen. It's a lowercase R, which I've never seen.
Yes, that's the problem. Yeah.
In fact, I suggest we cancel 11 based on this. I think it's done.
Or get someone to redesign him a logo. Also, while we're talking about 11, where are those avatars? I want to play the 4-player.
Oh, that was a while ago. Yeah.
It's been months, and the new UI. This is the time to put it out. You got new. I don't know. It's what's the holdup? I want avatars, and I want the new beautiful UI. Because I tell you what, getting a 50-year-old, almost 60-year-old dad to navigate the 11 UI, whew,
not easy.
Not easy. I'm like, have you seen the bell button? I sent you a request, and he's like, I don't know what's going on here. And I'm like, yeah,
a bell? Where?
Yeah, what bell? I'm trying to throw a ball.
No ringing.
I'm like, he's like, there's a version of me looking at me playing practice rounds with me, and I'm like, oh no. So new UI and avatars, where are they? That'd be good, please.
Too busy bringing the game to Pico Neo Free Link.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Not gonna have meta avatars on that, are you?
No, just that weird cat face they have in 11 is the default one.
Okay, moving on to our final piece of news for the week. We are going to be talking about the new sequel to The Top. So, do you remember To The Top? It was a VR free running game. Yeah.
Bouncy, bouncy.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, like go
Yeah.
very, very fast, grab onto the side of buildings, propel yourself over like large distances, do really cool race courses. Very unique sort of VR racing game, essentially. A little like Sprint Vector, if anyone remembers that, but far more based around like actively grabbing surfaces with your hands to propel yourself forward. The sequel is called Super Kit, which, as far as naming sequels goes, is a little confusing, but sure, have at it.
Is it called like to the top 2 Super Kit, or it's just called Super Kit? No, Super Kit to the top.
Super Kit to the top, which
interesting.
You do you.
Yeah, look.
This time around, we're in like very sci-fi cityscapes. Graphically, looks like a big step up from the first game. We've got some combat elements where we're fighting very strange looking. I don't even know what you call those. Like
they look like those little like beans you used to get. Odyssey. I don't know what you called them. Yeah, all those, but those little like I don't know, maybe they don't have them anywhere but Australia. Those little like play beans that like had weird faces on them.
Yeah,
that, like shook. You could and they like rolled downstairs and stuff. They look like those. Yeah, whatever those.
And then you've got like a gauntlet of like swinging maces and everything like that.
Yeah, obstacle course stuff.
Yeah, this was revealed by our friends over at PSVR Without Parole last week, and I got to say I'm looking forward to it. There was kind of a legacy behind the original To the Top in that it was one of the first games that got rejected for sale on the Quest store, and everyone was like, "Why? That's a really good game."
Yeah,
and then it just unfortunately still never came. It was and then it was the first game to release on SideQuest as a premium experience,
and App Lab I think too, wasn't it?
Yeah. It came to App Lab after that as well. So maybe hopefully they're thinking. I mean, maybe that's the thinking behind the Super Kit name as well. Get away from the To the Top side of it, and maybe actually let it on the store this time.
Just sneak in and be like, no, this is not To the Top. What are you talking about? This is Super Kit.
No, I'm not the same developer at all.
I've just changed my avatar.
Just put a mustache on the avatar.
Yeah.
So yeah,
looks cool.
I think this looks very, very cool. You should absolutely go and check out the trailer if you haven't already.
Was it announced PSVR, PCVR?
I think it's PSVR and PCVR because it was announced on PSVR Without Parole, but it says at the start of this trailer
captured on PCVR, right?
Yeah, captured on PC, which obviously Meta is in the habit of filming PCVR footage for Quest exclusive games, but I don't think that's what's happening here. I think we'll probably see it on those, and we'll probably see it on Quest as well, hopefully.
Eventually,
But if you're into Stride, if you played the first To the Top, or you like Climby or anything like that, this is definitely one to look out for. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing more from it in the future.
Yeah. To me, it looks like if Spider-Man had no webs and he was kind of in like a floating mirror's edge vibe place.
Yes. If he had a incredibly lucid dream.
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Talk to me about the Siege of Heaven update for in-depth, because I'm quite excited to learn about this.
Well, we don't have any reviews this week, but this is the one thing I've kind of played, which I actually really enjoyed. It's a new... The mode itself is not new. This map that you're seeing on screen is a new map for the mode, but the mode actually came out quite a while ago. It was December 2020, which I think was about 6 months after the game came out. I reviewed it at launch on Quest, which... For those who might not be aware, it's a bit of a weird situation in that this originally came out in Death came out for PCVR. It's like a roguelike kind of with like I don't know how you describe it, churchy horror, hell,
biblical
zombies. Yeah, biblical. That's the correct term. All different kind of biblical looking creatures and Templars and zombies and weird stuff. It's like a roguelike where you go through different levels. Each one is similar to like a roguelike. You go down kind of, they're almost like dungeons. You go through a different level. It's a whole different theme. Very cool. Then it came out on Quest mid 2020. Developed, I believe it was that the thing was that the IP was acquired by Super Bright, or the developers did it on Quest. Basically, got the rights to do it and brought it to Quest as In Death Unchained, which I believe was slightly updated from the PCVR version or was different. And since then, this has received updates, and the PCVR game is not receiving updates because it's just by different developers and no longer supported. So the Quest is like, this is the version of the game that is being updated. They updated it in December 2020 with this mode called Siege of Heaven, which is essentially a wave shooter. and it's a lot of fun. I hadn't gone back into the game, I think maybe once or twice since launch, hadn't played this mode. Then they basically have also added a new world to the main campaign, a new level, completely different theme, and there's 2 new maps for Siege of Heaven that just came out based on that theme, because the Siege of Heaven maps are all take after the campaign maps, just kind of reworked. So it's a lot of fun, and most of the other, this level is an exception, most of the other like Siege of Heaven wave shooter kind of levels are more like you're standing on a platform or an area watching things come by, similar to this, but they're not coming into the middle. This is the only 360-degree one where they're all coming towards you, and that's like the gate you're protecting. Whereas other ones, it's more left to right. There's a gate on the right side, or there's a gate on the left side, and you kind of, shooting as they walk across this area, not necessarily towards you, which is fun as well. But I really love this map because it's the first 360-degree one. They're coming towards you from all angles, so they can walk in at 3 different little entry points that you have to kind of defend. A lot of fun, and it keeps the best. What I wrote in the impressions piece, which should go up soon, if not be up by the time you're watching this, it keeps all of the best stuff from the campaign. It just like reformats the structure around it. Like everything in this goes down with a headshot. So if you can aim well, you can just completely mow down people really fast. It's obviously very hard to do, especially at distance, but it's got all the same enemies. The shooting is exactly the same. It has the special arrows. There's achievements now that they've just added in with this update as well, so you can kind of work through achievements of like having to get 5 headshots in a row, or 5 headshots at a super long distance in a row. There's lots of kind of cool depth to it that you could keep playing, because I'm a big fan of like high score kind of games where you can jump in for 10-15 minutes like this and improve, and you've got things you're always kind of working towards on different levels. You've got achievements, you've got high score. Also, all the high scores are I believe set to the season, which this is season 5. Yeah. So you kind of have a chance to climb up the leaderboards for each season as well, which is cool. So yeah, and you can buy stuff in between waves. There's 15 waves. There's an easy and normal mode for each map, and I think there's about 3, 6. I think there's like 7 or 8 or 9 maps now. 2 that have just been added in this update. But it's a really fun, different way to play the game that's almost more accessible, because you don't have to have the roguelike is very demanding, and that you kind of have to be like, I'm doing a run and I'm committing to this, even if you pause, and it's a commitment, as kind of roguelike runs are. Whereas this is much shorter, but it's the same idea. It's the same shooting. Feels great. I could give this to someone who's trying VR and be like, try this like 15-minute wave shooter, and they would get it within seconds. It's not very hard to kind of grasp. So yeah, I think this map is great. I hadn't tried any of the others before yesterday either, but I tried a couple of the other existing ones. They're fun as well. Really cool. Yeah, I don't know, super cool mode.
Is this
Definitely
one
recommend it.
A good workout? Because playing normal in depth, my arms get pretty sore just from.
I would say your left arm gets sore from raising the bow, and it works that out. It doesn't work out much else. It's not like I'm like sweating, panting because I've been squatting but my arm has been like this for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that gets sore. Yeah, definitely and it even says one of the tips it comes up with is like, rest your arms between waves. Or like you can take a break between waves to make sure you're not completely fatiguing yourself. So yeah, it's a workout for your left arm or right arm, depending on what you shoot. Maybe a little bit of the other arm, but not really otherwise. I wouldn't call it a fitness thing. Shout
out to anyone that actually fought a war with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Because your arm would have been killing you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the adrenaline would probably help in that regard. I'm not getting a huge... although, I guess you're not really getting adrenaline, are you? Because you're ages away.
Oh. Or I'm maybe pretty sure you're getting adrenaline. If someone's running to kill you from 100 miles away or 1 mile away, I'm still going to be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I guess so. And then your friend Jeff just gets shot in the head and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's like a Viking covered in blood. Died. Come on.
Yeah, I guess so. So I guess the adrenaline would help. But yeah, and the cool thing is too, as you can see in this video here, obviously it's the same as regular in death. Some of the enemies have more health and take a lot of them. The zombies just go down in one shot, whereas the Templars will take a couple. But if you can get the headshot, they go down instantly. So even when they're getting super close, there's a few moments in this where I've got like 5 enemies approaching a gate, and I just quickly kind of get the rhythm going and can kind of headshot them or body shot the zombies quickly. And that's like super satisfying. It's the same satisfaction you get in the main campaign that happens in those moments where you just really nail it. But it's good. I feel like there's a lot of depth.
Do you think it's time to bring a lot of what they've learned over to an in-depth 2, or do you think you'd rather just see this keep being updated?
Yeah, no, I think I'd rather see a sequel at this point. I think that's a good shout. I think this is. I mean, I'm not like super in tune with the in-depth community, so I don't know how many. I think quite a few people still play this. It seems to be quite.
I think it's pretty popular.
Kind of, yeah, it's still quite popular. I feel like there's definitely a way for them to just kind of, they could release new maps for this, new small content for this, while also probably, and maybe they already are, working on something bigger. Yeah, but I feel like an in-depth 2, because also it's starting to feel a little bit, doesn't really impact anything, but it's starting to feel a little bit like a tale of two games in that they've gone back and improved the visuals a lot since launch by adding in better lighting effects and whatever. But even like playing this map compared to playing the maps that are based on the pre-existing PC VR areas and the Quest versions of those doesn't look as spectacular as this. This looks really beautiful. They still look very cool, and the art style is pretty consistent, but there's something with the lighting, and you can tell that they've gone, okay, we're designing this map for Quest, like these environments for Quest, I think, with our new lighting. And there's only so much you can do, I think, to go back and kind of, jazz up the older ones. So I feel like if there was a game like where it all looked like this, because I think this, especially the video doesn't do it justice, it looks great on the Quest. And I feel like if there was a whole game of new stuff, I think definitely, although as much as I loved in depth, like the main campaign, I think you could definitely refine it too, to be like maybe slightly shorter on a run, or tweak the format to, because I think what works about this is that you could give it to anyone and they could quickly kind of do it, but it still has that huge depth of to the mechanics and whatnot. I feel like there's maybe a middle ground to be found with a different kind of roguelike campaign, but something maybe that's a different idea, or play around with it a bit more, do it from the ground up, because obviously they inherited a lot of the stuff from the original.
Yeah.
And, graphically, like interface wise, this isn't the prettiest thing ever. It looks great when you're playing this level, but the menus and whatnot are serviceable. I feel like you could kind of wow everyone with a fancy looking, complete overhaul sequel thing.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's really, really cool. I'm not one to, I liked the game as it stood. It wouldn't be the kind of game where I'd go back in and play loads more of it with updates. But then having said that, Until You Fall, which is another kind of roguelike game, is totally the kind of game I would go back in and play more of with more updates. So it just depends on, your preferences and everything like that. Because I would happily see more Until You Fall than I would see an Until You Fall 2. That's cool. This is the what's the name of this update?
Yeah, this is technically it's the like Siege of Heaven Desolation update. There was previously the Siege of Heaven update and previously the Desolation update. This is like, now we've got both those in there together, but it's all free too. That's the other thing I should mention. It's all of the updates have been free. They're not DLC. So if you own the game, you'll get this. And they've just started a new season, and you can unlock, cosmetics, I think, for the bow and your shield and that kind of stuff. So it's a very cool addition. It's nice too that it's been almost 2 years now, and it's still getting really cool stuff like this.
Yeah, free, really cool stuff.
That's free, amazing. Really cool stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that about takes us to the end of this week's edition of the VR Gamescast. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, everyone, it's been a real pleasure to be providing what I'm sure is entertaining conversation for you all.
Yes.
Next week, we are going to be early, as we said. We'll come back with a special for the Metagaming Showcase, which will mean a show on Wednesday, probably not on Thursday. And then we'll be back to our normal Thursday time the week after, which is probably when we'll do a Little Cities versus Cities VR.
Oh, that'll be a fun
extravaganza.
So both reviews in one, direct comparisons.
That'll be super, super fun.
Exactly
until then,
that's what we want to avoid. Yep.
Until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to catch Ian and Heaney on the download on Monday, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Farewell.
Bye, guys.